We have started recording.
I will need some assistance because I haven't actually ever run the meeting before,
Not a problem.
so. I suppose we just start off with a call to order. All right. As vice chair of the building board or board of building regulation examiners and appeals, I will call this order to meeting or meeting to order on April 7th, 2022. And this is just our annual meeting to handle elections, and I believe that's all.
Correct.
So, would you like to call roll?
It is Sterling, just a second. Hi, Sterling.
Right, yeah. I must apologize. I got stuck late. I am on my way to.
Okay, we have started the meeting, so when you come in, you can take the handle from Keith, who is vice chair.
Okay.
All right, see you soon.
He's only 2 minutes out.
Okay,
Just wait.
we'll wait then. We'll wait for you.
That was my moment.
I bailed you out, man.
That was my moment to shine.
You were close.
Well, I mean, we can get through roll call and we can do minutes and we can move this thing along.
All right,
You'd like to call roll?
certainly. Mr. Fradine,
Present.
Mr. Cowling is on a plane and has made his excuses. Mr. Boney,
Present.
Mr. McCann,
Present.
Mr. Soboleski,
Present.
Mr. Benoit gave his excuses and will not be here tonight. Mr. Kunder.
Present.
And Mr. Straight is on the way, so we'll count him as soon as he comes in the door. You have a quorum. And now for staff, Ross Knopfsinger,
Here.
Don Hickel,
Present.
and acting building official Adam Trombley.
Here.
Thank you. Staff is present.
Excellent. So moving on to agenda changes. We have the agenda before us. Are there any issues with the agenda that we wish to resolve? Is it fine as it stands?
Move to approve the agenda as stands.
Second.
Motion carries. No objections. We vote. We just,
Yeah.
we're good.
Aye.
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 Okay. Approved.
Moving on to the minutes, just to look over the minutes from the last meeting to see if there are any issues there that we need to resolve, or if they are good to go as stands.
There is one change. Mr. McCann's name is misspelled. So we will correct that, but other than that, that is it.
Any motions to accept the meetings or the minutes?
Motion to accept.
I'll second.
All right, motion carries. Move on to voting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We lost Mr. Boney.
There he is.
Would you like to vote on the minutes, Mr. Boney?
I'm not sure if he can hear us.
Something.
Sorry, as on mute. I move, approved.
Mission or minutes are approved. So we will move on to new business, which is the elections. Anybody want to vamp just a little bit while we're waiting for Sterling to show up? About that in certain sports team.
Well done, Keith. Got us moved along quite a ways.
Well, while we're waiting on Sterling, is there anyone who is looking to fill either chair or vice chair for the next year? Greg. The other people.
Mr. Ferdine was vice chair for a little while, but that was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. You guys have it well in hand. Well in hand.
You've done that. That might be Sterling pulling in now.
Let's get his mic on still.
That was Mr. Boney.
Yeah. You did pass Sterling on the way in the parking lot, did you?
Not that I know of. I also didn't run over them, so.
Well, that's good.
Well, we could just move on to,
I mean, because chair is supposed to handle is supposed to carry the elections for the vice chair, and vice chair is supposed to carry the election for the chair.
correct.
So.
You would be electing chair, or
I
going
would-
for the chair nomination.
Right. Well, with that in mind, do I hear any nominations for chair?
And I nominate Sterling for chair.
Second. Is anybody else interested?
Do we need to call him and verify he's willing? Or should we do it in absentia?
It's just applaud when he walks in.
I like that.
We could revisit chair, but I see a car pulling in right now through the windows. So,
Put these in gel-proof wrappers.
isn't there a notch?
It's gel-proof.
It says open here. Anyone got a knife?
Yeah, I got a dull one. Sharpen it.
It's a dull one.
Some somebody who's too busy to show.
Electricians always have knives. Get started before you come up with this.
Thank you so much. Yay!
Welcome, Sterling. Where is it?
Anywhere you want.
Well, let the record show that Sterling Strait has shown up for the meeting. Finally, he's present. And is present. The issue on the table right now is elections of the chair. So far, we've heard motions for, or we heard a motion to elect you for chair as another year. There are no other nominations at this time.
I guess, is Mr. Sterling an acceptance of the role?
I would,
Does he accept the nomination?
I believe this is my second year as chair. After that, as vice chair. So I would be happy to accept it. I would also be happy to pass it on to another to allow others to share in the leadership. In light of that, may I make a nomination? How does it work? I don't know how this works.
Well, I'm acting chair right now, so I don't see any reason you can't make a nomination.
I would like to nominate Mr. Sylvester. For doing such an excellent job.
Do I hear a second?
Sure, second.
I would be willing to accept that, yeah. So the nominations on the table are for Mr. Strait and Mr. Sobolewski.
Okay,
We move to votes.
we move to vote. First one will be on Mr. Strait, because he was nominated first. So,
Well, wait, so how does that work?
uh-huh,
It's a lot easier if someone withdraws their acceptance, if you guys don't care, but
okay. All right.
so
Sure.
what
We are
happened
now
there?
voting on Mr. Sobolewski's nomination to be chair.
Mr. Strait has withdrawn his acceptance.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't hear that. Thank you.
So are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it unanimously or
Yeah.
are all as one?
Share this since he's,
Since Mr. Sobolewski is the volunteer under consideration. I will take the chair for this part.
Thank you.
All those in favor of electing Mr. Sobolewski as our chair, please say aye.
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 Any abstaining? All right. So I will now turn the chair back over to you as our chair.
So so now for vice chair election, since I am chair now, okay. So we'll open the floor to nominations for vice chair. Do I hear any nominations? I was the vice chair as of about 30 seconds ago, so that seat is vacated at this time. So anybody who wants to nominate someone or step up?
I again will nominate Mr. Strait for vice chair.
And again, I will accept. I am also want to ensure that folks who have not had a leadership position have a chance. If anybody else wants to throw their hat in the ring.
I'll second the nomination for the board.
I'm good with that.
Other nominations.
I will throw out a nomination. I can do that. Okay, I will throw out a nomination for Mr. Benoit. I know he's not here, but I know that he would do a good job. And he probably would not have a problem with accepting it.
Can we do that? Have we done that before? Let somebody was here.
We did.
Sorry.
That was you, the first one.
What goes around comes around. Does anyone second the nomination?
I'll second that. And in your opinion, Mr. Benoit is willing, able, interested?
Without being able to verify it with him firsthand, he's displayed to me an interest in serving on this board. I think he would be okay with serving as a vice chair, and I know he'd do a good job doing it.
Okay.
But if it gets back to him,
Well, hearing no complaints, I will withdraw my nomination acceptance to allow Mr. Benoit to run on the post. Twice dodged.
are there any other nominations for vice chair? All right, hearing none, I will carry a vote for nominating or for electing Dan Benoit to the seat of vice chair for the building board. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none. Election carries. Or vote carries. So that concludes the new business for our meeting. Is there any old business? There's none on our agenda, but is there anything anyone else is aware of? All right. Moving on to reports. Are there any reports for the building board as well? Are there any reports from staff?
Yes. Mr. Trombley, it is your turn.
Hey guys, so two things. AO 2021-88S passed. There was an assembly amendment made, so Ross is kind of trying to track down some information. The amendment basically allows individuals who own a property to do their own work, which isn't necessarily an issue, but we're just trying to understand how the state would see it. And we'll have more information to provide for you later at another meeting date. That's about all I got for you. And then in my role as acting, we did have a job posting for a development services director / building official. We have interviewed 3 people so far. We have a very highly qualified candidate from out of state who has expressed a tremendous amount of interest. We did interview him a second time. He's out of North Carolina and comes from a city of about 55,000. He has where their city would basically, he would be what we would consider development services director and planning director in the municipality. So he does have a lot of experience, no specific building official experiences, but he does have some certifications that would be required or that we would look for in the building official. So he has not accepted. We haven't officially offered him the job. He wanted some more information, which I have provided for him, and he said he would let me know later on this week or earlier next week. So hopefully by the next time we meet, you'll have a new building official. That's it, Tana.
Is that a mayoral appointment?
It is.
Yes, it's a mayor's appointment as well as assembly confirmation.
That was my next question, is assembly confirmation. Thank you.
Now, the first statement that was made that there's something that's coming up about people doing their own work on their own property. Is that how I understood that?
Yeah, that's correct. It was in the Title 23 changes that we had. It was a floor amendment made by one of the, I think it was some member John Littleton, and it had to do with. I'd be happy to get more specifics for you. Off the top of my head, that's about all I can remember. Had to do with doing your own work
Yeah.
on your own locations, which isn't necessarily an issue, but I think this was like even allowed it up to commercial, and that I think that's where the rub is when it comes to the state. So we're trying to understand it. It may not be an issue at all, but we're just getting more information.
Well, I think you'll find it's a very serious issue with people, apartment owners and things like that, running into a lot of problems with that. The handyman doing different trades work, and then the homeowner hires somebody, a handyman that isn't licensed, and then there's a real problem. It's really going to be, this has to be addressed and looked into further, because there's already things on the books that are regarding, there's lawsuits right now.
Okay, understand. Well, like I said, Ross is tracking down some more information and getting some trying to understand how the state would see it as well. So, like I said, we'll provide more information at the next building board meeting.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Question through the chair. To clarify, Mr. Trombley, that's an amendment that was proposed and passed and is now law that we're dealing with, or is it still the proposed state?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. It did pass.
Thank you.
Might understand this, that it has already passed.
The assembly approved it that night.
How can? You went to the assembly meeting? I know I'm the new guy here, so y'all can tell me to be quiet. So it was proposed that homeowners can do property owners can do them on their own property.
And that would include if they own a rental. You know, before we go down a rabbit hole, I'd be happy to provide more information to you guys through Tana, and she can distribute the exact amendment and what it looks like. I don't want things to get blown out of proportion. Of course, I want to make sure we have accurate information when we're discussing it. So, and I'm sorry, I really should have had that amendment for you guys written out for this meeting, and so that's my fault. But I'll make sure that I get that distributed.
Yes, if you can get back to us as soon as possible with this, so that we can address it, because there's a real.
Sure.
I thought that the assembly, I might be out of line. I thought the assembly looked through this board for guidance and stuff and I've been attending the past few meetings that I've known of. I missed any notification. Never heard of this even being part of an agenda.
Thank you.
So what
Sorry.
purpose do we actually serve if the assembly is going to just do what they want? I didn't sign up for just to show up and meet the people. I thought this was
Sure. Well, that's a really good question. At the end of the day, the assembly can really do whatever they want when it comes to changing code. Many times it runs through. Many times ordinances run through all sorts of committees, planning and zoning, variances, platting, all sorts of things. And then once it gets to the assembly floor, they're moved and they're petitioned by constituents who say, I noticed this problem, I noticed that problem, and they're reacting to their constituents at the time. So this isn't unusual. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Floor amendments are made all the time.
tolerated is the next thing. So
I'm sorry?
Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't understand the whole concept of having a board that you rely on to give you advice. You don't speak with them, and then constituents or maybe the homeowners are getting to do their own property work now.
We have had amendments in the past where they've been made on the floor. They've come back to this office, like with Ross vetting this out now, and taking it to the board and so forth and through the administration, gone back to the assembly, and they have reversed their amendments. Just to let you know.
Yeah, I would like to see some more information on this and so we can take a look at it.
Yeah.
And evaluate it. So, is there anything else to report on right now?
Mr. Tremblay did not touch on it, but we do have the chief of inspections out as advertised, so that we can get people to accept it,
Thank you, Tana. I forgot about that.
That position.
that position, yes.
That is currently occupied by,
No one. We have an acting chief of inspections at this point,
and that is,
Don Hickle.
I thought it was Don. Okay, thank you.
He's only acting.
All right, I'll open the floor to any board member comments.
Say one thing to
Go ahead.
respond a little bit to your comment. It's not great, but it's not new. It's not the first time we've had this happen with the amendments, as was mentioned. I agree with you. I think most of the members of the board do that it's not optimal for things like building code decisions to be changed on the fly by the amendments of the assembly. But that's one of the things we can do is when we see that happen, when we're aware of it, we can question and review.
And in that, with you saying that, I'm an electrician, as I see the changes come across and I see what it affects the consumer end of it, it's pushed through, i.e. the car charger issue that came up. Now, prices have gone up with electrical because of what you're required to put in because somebody wants an electric car charger in every home. And another one, today I installed elevator equipment into a home. And the code for that is, wow, I've not done an elevator in 15 years, but some of the redundancy, is that stuff that we cover too? Is there questions we can ask? And, how do we see where those came from? Number one, the elevator. I've got 9 circuits in an elevator in a house that has a 2-watt lamp. Just some of the redundancy, safety, I agree with. I'm all over, but some of the stuff that is passed, do we get to address that here and take it to the assembly?
If I may speak to that, one opportunity we have to do that is the members of this board chair the review committees on each of the new code cycle reviews. And at that point in time, we get a committee together and we do a deep dive on the new code and address any existing amendments and how they relate to the new code, whether or not they still apply or they need to be changed, or if they can stay as they stand. And we also have that opportunity to introduce new amendments to those codes as they are adopted by the city.
And if I'm not stepping up to, but I, first time being it when I don't speak a lot, so.
That is one opportunity that we have. That only comes up every time we take a look at the new code cycle. Along those lines, Ross, if I may ask you, are we still looking at maybe taking a look at the 2024 cycle?
Oh, goodness.
I know that's a little ways out there. I don't mean to put you on the spot or anything like that.
So there's going to be for electrical code, there's going to be a 20 NEC. I envision that the MOA will set up a code committee to review the 20 NEC. I think the state's already adopted it, maybe? Not 100% certain on that.
I know the city hasn't yet.
Well, the city hasn't. We're on the 2017. But the city will set up a code committee to review the 2020 NEC. The 2021 building codes, we may skip a cycle like we did last time and wait for the 2024s, or we may set up committees to look at the 2021s. That's a kind of a conversation to have with the administration. Or even input from the board. You know, if the board feels strongly about skipping a code cycle or no, adopting the 2021s, you know, that's something the board could definitely weigh in on too.
What does your crystal ball tell you from the state?
Oh, So the state skipped the 2018 codes. They're on the 2012 still. And they are looking to adopt the 2021 codes sometime maybe in the late summer, I'm thinking.
If they adopt them, does that
Does that,
push us, Innis Valley Acreage, to need to update as well?
not necessarily.
Hey, Ross, I can tell you, there's going to be pushback from the administration.
To adopt the 2021 codes?
Yeah, probably. I can
Okay.
get more clarification, but my guess is that there'll probably be some pushback on it.
All right.
We answer your question.
I guess I'm not cleared up.
We have ability to review and modify. I will say we are very hesitant to make large scale changes to nationally adopted building codes of various sorts. If we have local reasons, we need to, that's where we look at.
I'm just new to it and looking at my industry and trying to bring some of the things, get questions answered for myself, what I see, and the people that I deal with, and was thinking that that's the purpose of being on this board, so we can help out with the assembly. But when they do stuff, I'm looking at a job right now, homeowners done, and if I brought out the pictures, you would probably ask the city that if it was in their jurisdiction, it's occurred with, they would probably condemn the building because of what they did. And I'm just having trouble thinking how, when you have someone else's life, it's your home and it's your life. You do what you do for you, but when someone else's life is in jeopardy, or at what you do, then I think it's a different reading. That comes from me being a past firefighter EMT. I've seen what faulty stuff does. So, seeing something like this, I think it's decent. And it could end up with a cost of someone else's life that's not particularly one who lives there.
Well, it should still be fall under the municipal inspections if it's within the service area.
Girdwood would be outside the
They're
building
outside the
safe.
service area.
Yeah.
Right. But if I were to do something on my house and I did it myself, I would still be under the inspections of the municipality being inside the municipal service area. But
How many of the homeowners, though, are going to pull a permit?
I did, I better. I'm sitting on the board.
Well, that's just it, you know, I mean, we as professionals, yes, but the average homeowner is not gonna go down thinking he has to have a permit to work on his own home and get an inspection. They're just gonna go to Lowe's and buy whatever's on the shelf, and that's not always the required equipment to be placed in there. And that's one thing that I've taken, personally, I'm going to Lowe's and I'm talking to them going, we need to get you on the same page with everything else. You're allowed to put it to a home by NEC standards. And we're hoping that they're gonna change that aspect, other than non-UL listed products that Amazon is delivering every day to these homeowners. I just had it the other day, homeowners said, hey, I got my lights for you, I go in, I pull out the paperwork, and there's no UL sticker. There's no listing. And there's no way I'm putting it in, but they will do it. And getting from FEMA, sorry.
So in the language where it states, this is the way it's stated, that the owner of the property can do the work. That's where the problem lies, because there's commercial buildings, he owns the property, fourplexes, eightplexes. It's a health safety issue. And it's the language that we have to look at. But we're into this right now.
So we'll get the language.
We need to address it right away, though. As soon as we get it, and then go to the bill and have it. Something thrown up.
So
I know exactly what's going to happen because I see it every day.
So through the chair, we can get the change the assembly made on the floor to email it to the building board members tomorrow.
Yes.
Do we have to make a motion to have that done, or will it be done? Okay.
No,
I will do it.
I know you. Thank you.
regarding the elevator code, I know that Jalen has been looking at putting together a code adoption committee for quite some time now. COVID really slowed down that activity, but, and I've talked to him a couple times about when he anticipates activating that again. He hasn't scheduled anything, but there is always a member of the building board that sits on the elevator adoption committee. I've sat on 2 of them, so.
I was fascinated when I asked you, you just don't read that section of the code book very often because I don't do, like 2 in 26 years of being an electrician. I've done 2 elevators. And then when I get into this one, I'm like, I have on a 3-story home, I have 9 separate circuits because the light switch and the light cannot be on the same circuit as the outlet on any floor. So it's just a redundancy and just a kind of like a why, you know, it might hit
I
around.
can't answer that.
Yeah, so to me, it was just one of those things and I thought, oh, I'll ask. I'd like to find out who is on that board and maybe talk to them.
I think Mr. Cowling has been on the elevator.
But that would also be, I don't think that would have, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that would have been something that would have been written in the NEC that way.
It is, but that's why I was wondering how, there's always a reason something comes to NEC, life safety this, the hard fall protections, ground fall protections, everything. So I was just wondering where it came along. Is it just because it's in the NEC, there's not a definition or a difference between residential and commercial?
I think we're veering off of the purpose or the purpose of the meeting, and I wouldn't mind sticking around afterwards and discussing that with you. But if we could maybe put a pin in that. I'd just see if there are any other comments or if we are okay with moving to adjournment.
Can you talk a little bit about number of permits that we've got, turnaround times, et cetera, before we adjourn, please?
Yeah, so through the chair, permit valuation's up 30% right now over last year at this point in time. Just today, I routed an awful lot of plan reviews and E-plans, which means I put a lot of new work into review. So there's substantial amount of new work coming in. It's still not busy like it was a decade ago, you know, or whatever, but things are definitely looking up. But the reviewers are keeping up very well. Everything's getting reviewed most stuff's getting reviewed within a week of being put into review, and some structural stuff is taking up to 2 weeks before they get to it. But work's moving pretty good, really.
What are numbers compared to like 2019?
Oh, goodness, I have not checked that.
Just curious.
Yeah, my guess would be probably maybe similar, you know, because we've been on a decline for over 5 years, I'd say.
I have a chart. I do this, called the weekly valuation summary. I send it out to a certain group of people once a week, like on Wednesdays, with the new, what's come in for the week for the permits. And at the end of the year, I do a table, and the table is from 2006 to current. And I can send that to you guys if you would like. And it'll show big dips.
I believe they can get on the website too to see.
They can't see that one, but they can see the valuation
Okay.
summary.
Yeah, you can see the valuation summary anyway on our website, and that compares, how many years does that compare, the valuation summary?
The valuation summary that I have is from 2006 to last year. So you'll get a.
I would personally be interested in that. I
Yeah.
don't know if others would.
I would as well. Is that total, is that the total valuation of the properties going, or the projects going through, or is it number of permits? Is it?
It's all government, residential, and commercial.
And is it a dollar value or is it a?
It's a dollar value, and it's charted on a graph.
And it's our calculated valuation too. It's not actual cost, the cost to build these buildings, which is probably a higher number. Our valuations tend to lowball the actual cost to build buildings. Our valuations are nothing more than a tool used to calculate a permit fee.
Thank you.
I motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Move to vote to,
Don't need to vote.
all right,
Yeah,
well,
get
then we
'em.
adjourn.
Get a second. Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Have a good night.
Get sandwiches for you.
Nobody can leave till the sandwiches are gone.
Oh, I did my part.
Everybody abandoned ship. So what you guys missed was Mr. Veradette, or one of our new board members,